Hello guys, and we're here today with another very interesting deck profile. We're here today with a little bit of a paradox we have here, because this is supposed to be a budget-friendly rogue Traptrix deck, but we're running Triple Strike. All I can really say is that, obviously, unless you just have a whole bunch of money, or unless you're lucky enough to have 3 strike, you'll probably only be playing 1. You definitely have to play at least 1, and so you'd just have to find different trap cards like Ring of Destruction and the whatnot to just put into this deck, so that way you have that continuation of stun in the deck. Because the idea of this deck is supposed to be set 5 pass. If your opponent makes a play, you're supposed to respond and get rid of that play. And so it's heavily reliant on traps and on the side deck being able to side into stuff, floodgates, and the whatnot that specifically hurt the deck you're facing. So let's just go right in. 2 Dionea and 3 Mamilio. I like this number. You don't see Dionea too much where she clogs and you see her, but you still see her. The deck has great consistency since Card of Demise comes out, so you can easily get to her if you really need to. And then Mamilio at 3, definitely just summon her, just search out a trap hole. She's a monster and a trap card by herself pretty much. And then Gradles, again, we don't want to see too many monsters because that just messes with our Card of Demise. We want to have 5 back row set. So oh, excuse me guys. So this is a great number. I mean, though, easily once you get Gradle Impact, it just becomes a lot easier. Of course, if you draw into the Gradles themselves, it's not the worst thing in the world. You can either attack into them to take your opponent's monsters, or just set them and let your opponent attack into them, and then you get to take something really nice. So it's just it's like a final line of defense. All right, I didn't get your summon, I didn't get your effect, I didn't get rid of you, I didn't prevent it. You're gonna attack. All right, now it's mine. So it's really great. There's a lot of different monsters that are great to take. Of course, against Cosmos, a lot of those monsters cannot be targeted, but the second monsters cannot chain their effects to the Gradle monsters during the damage step. So that's really great, being able to take a Farm Girl or take a Cosmo, Wicked Witch. And so just really great, just a lot of different monsters. And it also helps with making our rank 4 plays, because sometimes you have a Mamilio out and then you summon out your Alligator and then pop it with Impact, take a level 4, and then be able to make Rafflesia. And then 2 Instant Fusion, I feel like 2 is fine. I mean, you have the 1 Norden and then the 1,000 I Restrict. Of course, most of the time we're going to be summoning out Norden. Sometimes I don't even use Instant Fusion in a game, it just kind of clogs. So if you want to put it down to 1, that's okay. It's just why not? Because I mean, you can always summon out your Gradle monsters and then pop it with Gradle Impact, so that way you get Alligator's effect, or you could just summon out Mamilio or Dionea and make a rank 4 play. And then 1,000 I Restrict is, of course, 1,000 I Restrict, it's just 1,000 to get rid of a monster that can be really troublesome, doesn't target, so that's also really nice. On Regeki, it's definitely a blowout. We do not run Dark Hole because Dark Hole is slow. We want to stop our opponent's play the moment they make a play, not after they made their play. So that's why we don't run Dark Hole. Of course, if you did run Dark Hole, you could use it to get Gradle Alligator's effect off, assuming that they had a monster that couldn't be destroyed, so if they had Beals. But nobody plays cards like that in this format, I think. And then Card of Demise. This card is still considered OCG on Death Pro, so some of the duels you'll see will be in the OCG unranked, which is unfortunate. But nonetheless, it still shows off the deck, and this is just great. This card is amazing. If you open up with it, it's still kind of good, as long as you open up with only 1 monster. You cannot open up with 2 monsters. If you do, then do not use this card. But it's just pretty great. Just being able to go. So if you have 4 traps and a monster, let's assume like a Gradle monster, because then Mamilio would make 5. You could set the 4, set the Alligator, and then draw into 3 more cards, and then set 1 more trap card. So now you have 5 back row, and then you just dump 2 cards. So maybe you have Oasis live and Mamilio in the graveyard, so now you can just pop something, or you have a Cobra, so if they Twin Twister or they summon out like Slip Rider and they pop Oasis, you can chain it and get Cobra, and then Cobra's effect will go off. And so Card of Demise is definitely very useful, especially in the later games where you have enough room to, like, you have 3 open back row space, and you can just draw 3 cards and then set all of them or summon all of them. So it's just really great. It really blows out your opponent because they think that they got through all your back row and then you just draw into 3 more back row. The only times it clogs, it's either A, when you have 5 back rows set already and you just can't activate it because you don't have room, or it would just be a waste because then you'd get rid of 2 cards. In which case, that's not really a downside. You have 5 back rows set, so unless it's like you have vanities up in like 2 instant fusion sets and like a Regeki, for the most of the time your back row will be alive. You have your time space, your bottomless, all your just different back rows, so there is no downside to that. The second time it'll clog is when you have 2 or more monsters in your hand, in which case I wouldn't activate it because obviously you can only get rid of 1, and if you keep on drawing into your monsters, you just have to keep on waiting. But eventually, once you do get this effect off, it can just be amazing. Just instantly set more back row and your opponent just cries. And then the 1 upstart, again, just consistency. Just I cite it out every game. Duality just works well with the card of demise. I always activate it after. So if I have duality, I set it and then I draw with card of demise, and then I'll activate it because obviously I can't special summon that turn, so I'll just activate to get that 1 more trap. And then Twin Twister, only 1 Twin Twister because we have plenty enough pack row destruction with Mamilio and Impact. And then Impact itself, it's a Scrap Iron Scarecrow, pretty much. Target a Gradle, target card your opponent controls, destroy them, and then you get the Gradle, you get Gradle Alligator's effect. Also, during the end phase, you could search for a Gradle card, including itself, so that's really nice. There is really no downside to this card, just being able to get off Alligator's effect when you want to and take your opponent's monsters, so you can have an aggressive play. And of course, Alligator does not special summon, so of course you can use Card of Demise and Duality during that turn. And then Time Space, summon monster from a hand or extra deck, goes back to the deck. You lose 1,000 Bottomless is bottomless, negate an effect. Of course, Endless Trap Hole, that is a card that I would replace Time Space with. I'd play Endless Trap Hole. It's a little bit annoying, I have a feeling, because of course it flips them face down and they can't reflip face up, but you'd have to make this guy to attack over him. But then again, he's pretty easy to make, and 4,000 if he gets off both of his attacks, and so that's pretty decent. But Endless Trap Hole is really decent, just being able to flip all those monsters face down, no downside, no life point cost, just a lot better. Torrential Tribute, just against Monarchs, against the whatnot, it's just a blowout card. And then Starlight Road with the Twin Twister. I hate Twin Twister, and I like this card better than, what do you call it? Magical Deflector, because Magical Deflector will mess with our Gradles. Your opponent will get their monster back, of course, during the end phase if it's still equipped. Then you get the monster back, but they get the monster back, so they're probably going to exile someone to make it leave the field. So I don't like Magical Deflector, it just doesn't work well in the deck. I mean, it does hit more cards, it hits the Cosmo Town, it hits all those cards. So if you want to play it, but you really only want to stop Starlight Road. That's really the only card you want. And of course, being able to summon out Stardust can get rid of another Twin Twister, or a like an Ignister, or a Cosmo monster like Predator or Dark Destroyer. And then Compulse, great against the Phantom Knight, Burning Abyss matchup, just get rid of it. And great against Pendulums, of course, get rid of Ignister. Vandy's Emptiness, not as strong this format, especially with Pendulums and a lot of inherent summons, but nonetheless, being able to flip it face up can be devastating, and can be really nice. And then Oasis, it's just a last line of defense, pretty much. Just summon out Mamilio. We run Oasis because sometimes we will get rid of our monsters with Card of Demise, so might as well just run it. And of course, being able to summon out Mamilio is an MST, and being able to summon out the Gradle monsters in defense mode so you don't take damage. It's just either your opponent just says, alright, I'm not attacking, or you get a monster. And then of course, Triple Strike doesn't make sense in a budget deck, but it just is so powerful that you have to play it at 3. This deck will not be as strong if you play only 1. And Ring of Destruction, inflicting damage to yourself, not very nice. So this is kind of a deck you play online, but if you can build this deck in real life, it is really fun. You will get the rogue advantage, your opponent won't have a side deck against you. And then of course, Solemn Warning, being able to negate whatever you want, except for most spell trap cards. And then for the extra deck, Norden, summon out a monster, Thousand Irish Trick, get rid of a monster, Stardust for the Starlight Road, and then Dark Rebellion, Ragna Zero, 101, Giant Hand, of course, more negating, being able to attack over stuff if necessary, Castel, Diagast Animals, Recycling or Gradle monsters, Abyss Dweller can be very nice, especially against Burning Abyss, Cowboys, go for game or just a lower attack. And then Rafflesia, you make her a lot, just being able to have like a 6 back row pretty much, just whatever you need. And then the 1 rank 3 for if we have 2 Greatles out, a la carte, I decided. I felt he would be the best. There aren't really many good rank 3s in the game that you could use for stun. Like, Equipped Engineer can protect, but that's about it. And so into the side deck, Twin Twister for the Pendulums, Time Space, Pendulums, and Cosmos. This is also for Cosmos. These guys can be sided in against a lot of decks. Mask of Restrict is definitely for the these 5 cards are definitely for the Monarch matchups. I like Appropriate because Monarchs aren't going to OTK you, so there's literally no downside. Like it's like how I say with Max C, it's an empty threat. You're gonna draw into cards, but if your opponent can go for game, they're gonna go for game. But with this, Monarchs just can't OTK, so you don't have to worry about them going for game. And I like it better than Anti-Spell Frameworks because that also hurts our deck. We do run plenty of spells, but at the same time, Appropriate, just flip this guy, and then it's like, alright, either I activate Pandeity, or I don't. Of course, this was a lot better when Chicken Game was in this deck, because then you could, if your opponent used Chicken Game, you could also draw off of that, or when Upstart was at 3 up and people used Upstart, you could draw off of that. But of course, people aren't playing that, but it's still great because they still have Pandeity and they still have the Prime Monarch. And then Light Imprisoning Mirror, great against Cosmos, and then this is also good against Cosmos, and of course Burning Abyss, and then this is for the Pendulum matchup. So there's just a lot of different stuff. So if you're facing Cosmos, I'd side in these 2 and then these 4, so that's 6 cards. And of course I'd probably take out stuff like Compulse, Torrential, maybe even Bottomless, because they can always get the monster back. And so that's 1, 2, 3 cards only there. 4 of course, because I always set out this, 5 maybe. And then if you're just facing Pendulums. So there's just a lot of different stuff. You just have to work with this deck. I definitely like Grand Horn of Heaven being able to have that extra negate summon. This deck definitely has to go first though. Going second can be a pain, especially if they set their Twin Twisters to get around your Starlight Roads. And this deck, again, the biggest weakness to it, if you see a deck like this, is don't make plays. Just don't make big plays, because if you do, I'm going to respond. That's what this deck does. Like, I've lost games because my opponent summons out a monster and I just don't have Strike, so they either get off its effect or Strike doesn't negate normal summons, so they just attack with it, and it's bigger than Mamilio, and I just don't have any Greatles. Or if I do have Greatles, I have 5 back row set, and I can't make room. So, of course, that is this deck profile. It is definitely a very fun deck. I do recommend you guys try it out. I love Traptrix. Just being able to set 5 paths, it really messes with your opponent. Because they see that 5 back row and they're like, oh, I have to start baiting stuff out. I start have to using my resource to make this, that, and the other stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But as long as you stay 1 step ahead of your opponent, you will be able to win against most matchups. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this deck profile. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys later.